Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look at Cartesi, which is a very, very big fan favorite for my community. So thank you for requesting that I cover this here again today. I can see why you want me to go ahead and review this because it's taken off and it's doing very good things here. So really excited to check that out. But before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. It's extremely important you take ownership of your trading and learn as much as you can. And just note that this channel will help educate you on best practice. So that's my whole purpose and role here, is to ensure that I teach you to trade for a lifetime, not just for one day. All right. So furthermore, I do have a Signal group down below, link in the description below if you're interested in that, through my Patreon account. I basically take everything that I train and show you in my videos and just make it simple for you to send out signals 3 to 5 times a week, to make sure that it's a little easier for you, because I have more time to spend looking at the charts. And I just happen to love it, so it's kind of a win-win for all of us, right? Furthermore, link in the description as well below for my Telegram community, and $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager if you'd like to reference that. Furthermore, let's just go ahead and take a look at the charts. Let's forget about that and dive right in. All right, folks, let's go and take a look at Cartesi. Let's see what CTSI is up to. And before we do, if you're new to the channel, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, just to make sure we get a baseline of the market so we know what's going on big picture. Okay, so let's take a look at that here first. So this is Bitcoin. I use TradingView, by the way. This is TradingView desktop application. And I always enable my moving averages, which is the 200, this purple line here, and the 50, which is the yellow line here. And what we can see at this point is that the 50-day moving average is getting tested. It was previously tested and rejected, so we'll see how this responds here soon. But the 50 has been very well known for a constant support and resistance level for Bitcoin, so just pay attention to that. If it breaks above and holds above for just say a 4-hour candlestick, we'll be looking pretty good, right? So all in all, that's what we're looking for there. Furthermore, we got a support level at 30,000 and a major resistance at 42. There's also a support level at about 31,000 and another resistance at 41. So basically got this 41 to 31 channel that it's in, and all in all, it's been in this channel for quite some time, because we look at the big picture. For the most part, Bitcoin's either going up or down. Sideways is strange to a lot of us, right? So that's kind of how that works. Again, it's normal. It's been done this plenty of times in the past, but in the most recent past, we're not used to this kind of price action, and it is kind of staying closer to 30,000, which is concerning for a lot of folks. But it depends on how you look at it. It could just be more opportunity, because this is a great value when you think about Bitcoin in the big picture and where it's likely going to be heading in the distant future. I doubt we're going to hit 60,000 this year, but everyone's got their own opinions. Let's go ahead and move on to Ethereum now. Now this is Ethereum essentially. Let me go ahead and clear this guy out here. And as we can kind of see, there is a channel also it's working itself into. So we'll just go ahead and mark that again. We've got a channel of roughly 1700 is a support level. And we've also got a resistance level. And this was tested about like 10 times. I counted it just the other day. And that is essentially a major resistance at 2,900. Okay. Furthermore, we've got the 50 and the 200-day moving averages working as resistance levels. Not much going on with Ethereum right now. Until Bitcoin decides it wants to pick up the slack and kind of get closer to 42,000 or higher. I feel like we're going to see this kind of constant price action from Ethereum, just kind of drawing dead, going sideways. I don't feel as if Ethereum is going to go much lower here. Again, if Bitcoin drops below 30,000, then yes, we will see Ethereum sub 1,700. But at this point in time, I think we should expect to see Ethereum continue to increase. Again, another good value here for Ethereum right now at this point in time. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the show here. So CTSI, we'll take a look at the one-day chart first, work our way down to, of course, the 4-hour, 1 hour for the Ishimoku, and so on and so forth. Kind of just take a closer look at everything. But I want to always look at the one-day chart first to kind of get a perspective, right? Big picture, what's going on? What's this average true range before we move on, so we understand how much more movement we can see from Cartesi. Now, if you can kind of notice here, you see this this slight channel from before, like it was as low as what, 42 cents, upwards of about 87 cents. So if you kind of take this standard deviation away, we kind of just forget about that. It's average true range is like 47 to maybe about 81, 85 cents, somewhere in that range. So we're just now kind of, breaching that, so to speak, at roughly what, 54 cents. So is Cartesi going to get much higher? Yeah, it has absolute potential to do so. Because considering where it's at right now, it broke its major support and resistance level. Because you can see there was a support back here at about 41 cents. It broke through that here today. And I don't see it having any signs of slowing down. It may retrace a little bit because honestly, in most cases in crypto, you'll notice that retracements occur typically about 50%. So if you consider this full on candle here, you could take 50% of that difference, like right about halfway, and that's probably roughly where it could retrace back down to. Is it going to happen? I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll look at smaller time frames to identify. But right now, the key takeaway here is that we're over the 200-day moving average, which is fantastic. We're under the 50, but I'm not as worried about the 50. The 200 is a bigger deal. So obviously the 200 worked as a support level, almost a resistance for a short while, and now it's back up over. Looking at the RSI, still really low for the one-day chart. Okay, so there's plenty more room for improvement, so to speak. And Cartesi has a tendency of going on runs, right? It could go on a big tear and crank up to about 60, 70, 80 cents. And we'll see what happens, but we're looking pretty good. Also bear in mind too, this is a significant sign if you look at the MACD. When the convergence occurs, the 12-day EMA, essentially, this yellow line here, swings upwards and passes the purple line, the 26. That essentially causes the convergence, which is part of the name, the moving average convergence divergence, and essentially that is a significant buy signal. Okay, so oftentimes it's a buy signal to go long if you're planning to be more of a swing trader, right? Day trading, different story, but if you're swing trading, you're planning to hold Cartesi for a while, this would be an excellent opportunity to try to get in. I'd recommend maybe waiting a moment. We'll see a little bit here when we look at the smaller time frames to identify specifically a good entry point, because oftentimes buying at the top isn't ideal. But again, some things just keep going and going and going, and you'd wish you got in sooner. So we'll see if we can identify that. So that's the one-day chart here for Cartesi. Now, as we can see on the 4-hour chart, RSI is peaking up over 70 now, so it is appearing to be overextended, basically overbought. Now, that's not a terrible thing, because if you've seen some of my previous videos, you'll know that RSI peaking up over 70 or increasing over 70 is never a bad thing. It's always a good thing. It's not an immediate sell signal, right? It's a warning sign to tell you to pay closer attention, but it isn't necessarily a sell signal. Now, we'll use the 15-minute chart to identify that, but at this point in time, RSI is still in very good shape considering how low it was previously. It was creeping down as close to about 30, 35 just 24 hours ago. So this is good news. Cartesi is still in really good shape, but generally speaking, the big deal here is the fact that, and take a look at this, and this happens a lot with the 50-day moving average. Look at how it broke and stayed above. Look, it got rejected 3 times. So in 12 hours, it was like, nope, the price isn't going to come up over this line. And then out of nowhere, it broke super hard and super fast. Went from 41 cents all the way up to about 53 cents in a matter of 8 hours or less. So that's a really, really good sign. I love it when I see that, because oftentimes, moving averages are broken very hard, very fast. So the good and bad thing about this is that we're up over the 50, but we're going to have a similar type of price action to get through the 200. Okay, so that's roughly about 59 cents. So if we see the price continue upwards, just pay close attention on the 4-hour chart, how it's responding to the 200-day moving average, because that could essentially do a very similar thing. In other words, it could push the price down like it did there. So it could come up here, try to test, and then break, or it could essentially do one of these and then come back down. It probably won't break that hard, but keep that in mind. Any type of moving average has a tendency of just blasting through. It commonly doesn't just slowly creep by. It's usually jumping through or getting rejected hard. All right, so let's take a look at the 1-hour chart now. And I always enable the Ishimoku cloud. And as you can kind of tell here, pretty big noticeable difference here. Okay, in other words, anytime the price action is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. So we're definitely in a buy territory here. Also note too, just for future reference, if you're new to the cloud, Ishimoku cloud is most beneficial in the 1-hour chart. I had some of my subscribers ask me, like, hey, what are the right numbers, the right metrics on the 15? Well, I don't use it on the 15-minute chart because it's not as effective. It doesn't give you as good as signals. So use it on the 1-hour chart. That's probably the only reason why I use the 1-hour chart. I'm more of a 4-hour chart kind of guy, so I disseminate a lot of good information, a lot of swing trading um, statistics from the 4-hour chart, whereas the 1 hour is really good for the Ichimoku cloud. So that being said, we can see here price actions above, giving us buy signals. And again, if you are new to the cloud, if you're buying, you don't want to buy in the cloud, like this, for example, is a no buy zone. So you do not want to buy in here. However, when it breaks above, just like for here, for example, or for here, that's considered a buy signal. Now, it got rejected. That's why you don't only use the cloud to take entry. There's probably other characteristics that cause the price to reject. I think the 50-day moving average was rejecting here at this point. But generally, that's kind of the concept, right? All right. So I just want to kind of note that. So we'll leave this marking here. We'll go to the 15-minute chart. And you can kind of see here the difference, right? If you look at the cloud on the 15, it's giving us different buy signals. Yes, that's a little earlier. That could be advantageous, but the best time to have bought would be here on the 1-hour chart. All right, so let's take a look at the EMA and VWAP lines. Now, if you're new to the channel, EMA, the exponential moving average, I use the EMA 15. That's this red line here. It works as a bullish and bearish trend. In other words, it tells us if it's above, it's more bullish. If it's below, it's more bearish. If it's jumping up and down in between, it's kind of a consolidation period. So we had consolidation right here, and it broke above, and now it's staying above the EMA line consistently. Very good sign. Furthermore, the VWAP line, that is the blue line here, that's the volume weighted average price. The volume is expressed as a price on this indicator. In other words, it takes the last 24 hours of volume, tells us what the price should be based on the amount of volume that's been occurring. So in other words, when the price is above the VWAP line, that's a support level. When it's below, it's a resistance. We're seeing that as a major support right now. You can see how it kind of wavered right here, right? This is a state of consolidation. But as soon as it jumped above, it stayed above. The EMA line here held the price action above, and they're both consistently doing that. Now keep this in mind too, there is a standard deviation that is not present on this indicator, but commonly there are standard deviation lines above and below, right? And that basically just tells you if the price is either overextended or underextended. In other words, when you have the price being this high, this far away from the actual price action, in other words, it's 20% higher than the VWAP, that's a warning signal. That's telling us the price action could very well retrace, which I do feel like it will do here soon. Okay, so the larger variation from the VWAP line to the price action, the more likely it's going to come crashing back down. Okay, now let's take a look at this here. Coincidentally, RSI is up over 70. What do you know? That happens all the time. So RSI is a good indication to use as well. So use the RSI and the VWAP together. Extremely beneficial. In other words, when the price comes up over 70 on the RSI and you see the overextension from the VWAP line to the price action, the price is either going to go sideways from there for a while on a bull run, or it could decrease and continue to fall back down, retrace. Oftentimes it retraces about 50% of its initial run. So we could expect the price to come back down to about 49 to 55 cents, but we'll see what happens. So I think it will stay in this channel here for a little while because this is a pretty strong bull run, but you can kind of identify here that the price is overextended. It's likely going to come back down. Hold on, we'll keep that on there. Let's take a look at the 1-minute chart. And look, this is kind of an easier way to see it, right? You can see the price keeps coming up, keeps bouncing off the EMA lines, and then of course it's getting rejected now because the price was too high. So just pay attention to that when you're trying to take entry in a consideration like this. I would perhaps consider waiting. That's what I would do personally. I always wait for the VWAP and the EMA lines to be tested first. In other words, we want for the price to come back down and either bounce off the VWAP line, or for us to wait for the price action to be above the EMA line again. So the price being under EMA on the 1-minute and the 15-minute chart tells us that we're in a pretty, in one of those situations, right? Now, to clarify, the 15-minute chart doesn't give us that signal, right? So the price is still over EMA and VWAP on the 15. This will happen on a large bull run, a very significant increase in price. Because again, we got that deviation of almost 20% from the VWAP lines. So that's why you want to use the 1-minute chart and use this more effectively here, because in other words, with the price being under the EMA on the 1-minute chart, that's really telling us that it's not a buy signal yet, and we want for the price to be over. Okay, because as you can see here, right, look at all these, look at this here. The price bounces right here, bouncing, 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 bouncing. right? So that's a sure sign of a bull run. Now, unless this can recover quickly and bounce, there's a strong likelihood it's going to continue to go down. And if this EMA line continues like this and the price stays below, then we don't want to consider taking entry, right? We want to wait for the price to come above the EMA line and make sure that it's, kind of testing and bouncing off of it, if that makes sense. Okay. So to me right now, based on its overextension, I don't feel like it's a fantastic entry point right now. Is it going to continue to go on its bull run? There's a good chance of that. All the other indicators are telling us that it's in complete control, the bulls are in control, and it's going to keep moving up. So if you're planning to swing trade, for example, you want to hold Cartesi long term, then it might be advantageous to consider taking entry regardless of how low this might go. But generally speaking, if you are considering a shorter term swing trade, day trade, consider waiting for the price action to come back above the EMA line. And the reason why I do that is because the fact that right now it's showing that the bears are present. The bears are trying to drive the price back down. Until they stop their run, until they stop gaining control, you don't want to jump, you don't want to try to find the dip, right? The best thing to do is to wait for confirmation. And confirmation for me on the 1 minute chart is waiting 3 minutes. In other words, you want to see 3 of these close above the EMA and VWAP lines. So 3 candlesticks closing above. They have to be green bars, right? So here's an identification of that. Take a look back here on this bull run. You see these yellow indicators here? These yellow arrows are essentially telling us that it's a good entry point. Now I have an indicator that's available through my Patreon account. It is my EWAP, my EMA and VWAP notification, right? And this what basically tells us that we have 2 solid green bars, because that's usually the way it's built out, is 2 solid green bars. But on the 1 minute chart, you want to wait 3 minutes. In other words, we got this 3 minute confirmation here, right? So this tells us that we got confirmation the price is heading in the direction of the bulls because it's above EMA and VWAP lines. Same with this one as well, right? So had you taken entry in either of these two points, you would be in pretty good position right now to have made a profit, right? So, again, just something to note. Again, that's almost a 20% increase right there alone. Obviously, it's easy to identify now that it's over, but those are little signals you want to pay attention to, right? We don't have those right now. So you want to be very cautious in taking entry because the price could continue to come back down. So the 2 things you want to wait for is ideally the price to come down, bounce off the VWAP line. It doesn't always happen because the VWAP line has been so overextended that it may not come all the way back down. But if it does, you wait for it to bounce and stay above. Okay. Second thing to do is obviously wait for the price to stay above the EMA line, right? So we need the price to be above the EMA and to essentially give us 3 solid green bars. In other words, that would be 3 minutes worth of confirmation telling us that the price is heading in that direction. Okay. So again, just something to kind of note. As you can kind of see here, it's giving us all these signals of why it's on a bullish trend. But right now, it's coming down a little faster. And if it gets any lower than here, in other words, we got this line right here. If it comes below here, then we're in trouble because of the fact that it's creating lower lows. It's no longer creating higher highs and higher lows, right? So that's an important thing to note as well. So if we take a look here, just take a quick little here, we see the price. You can pretty much draw a line, right? Look at this. You see that kind of line there? It's bouncing, keeps going up. Well, this one right here is further away, so that could mean that it may not work out very well. In other words, we get lower lows and lower highs, then it's a shift in momentum and the bears are in control, right? So we start seeing some candle bars closing lower than this point right here. That's another indication of a bear market, right? Well, at least temporary bear market. I don't think the bears are going to drive the price down super far. I personally don't think it's going to come back down past the VWAP line. So I think that 47 cents, if it comes back down to 47 cents, would be a great value. But even 52 is still a good price, in my opinion, in the big picture. Just based on how low CTSI is, based on where it should be, I think we're still in the range of being very affordable still. But just know it's overextended right now, and there's a chance it could retrace. Okay, so just be careful of that. So anyways, that's all I have for you here today. Thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to reference my Telegram community. I have a link in the description below. If you'd also like to consider joining my Patreon account, I give signals weekly, 3 to 5 signals per week, just to ensure that I take take what I see here and I provide that to you so you don't have to spend all day trying to find good entry points. We cover Bitcoin and altcoins. So that'll be available. It's available right now, but I recommend maybe considering on the first just so you get the biggest benefit through Patreon. Okay, so thank you again so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing the next video. Take care.